Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about transit Saturn Sextile or trine one's natal Venus. Now, this transit could manifest in the career, hard work, the father, responsibility, discipline, and structure. Could be in harmony with love, things that you love and enjoy, and relationships. And I'm going to elaborate and expound on that. This is a time where you can likely incorporate discipline in your relationships, including significant friendships, such as seeing them consistently. Having it could be having that set time to be able to actually see them and set up activities with them or what have you, and also the things that you love and enjoy, the things you're enamored with. If you have your natal Venus in Aquarius, say, those things that you love and enjoy could be astrology, computers, electronics. It could be aviation, meteorology, innovation, tech labs as some examples. And also, too, again, having that discipline in your relationships. And this is a time where you can also really have a good balance, I would say, between the career that you're in, the business that you're in, and the relationships, which would include significant friendships. If you have your natal Venus in Capricorn, say, those significant friendships, relationships, they might be older people, they may be Capricorn, Sun, Moon, or Ascendant people, or simply embody those characteristics. It could also be a time, for you as well, when you have this transit. It's about, really having, I would say, more enjoyment, for matters with the father, older people, authority figures. It could be also an auspicious time in making money, from the career, from working hard. It can be a time as well where responsibilities at this time, for you may be more enjoyable, than they ordinarily would. Responsibilities is something a lot of us may be averse to, and we don't really want to do. We have somewhat of an anathema for it, or don't really have much enjoyment for it. But this is the time where you could take those things, I would say, with more of a grain of salt, at least enjoy them a little bit more than you ordinarily would. If the transit Saturn is in the zodiac sign Cancer, say, it could be something with home renovation or roofing, or real estate matters, cooking, as some examples. It could be, laundry, plumbing, these things that you might find more enjoyable at this time than you generally would, as an example. And when you have this transit, it's about really taking, your relationship seriously. Could be a very positive transit, because you're having a good relationship between the transit of planet of Saturn to the natal planet of Venus. And Saturn is about this serious energy. Venus is about our relationships, including the significant friendships that we have. And it's a time where you're likely to take them more seriously and put just the right amount of concentration on them without being overly obsessed or fixated on them at this time. And another thing about this too is that, anatomically speaking, okay, Venus is connected with the throat, the neck, the thyroid, the lower back, and the kidneys. So if you have any issues that are anatomically connected, those body parts that I just stated that are, that are associated with Venus, that are anatomically connected with Venus, then this is the time when you're likely to take more responsibility for it, get down to business with those matters, and take it more seriously. Maybe something has reached a point when you have this transit when you have to go see some physician, or you've waited to a point. You might have procrastinated or hesitated on these matters, and it's something now where you're willing to say, okay, I'm going to get down to business. I'm going to take responsibility for these things. These things are more serious than I originally thought they were, and to actually do something about it at this time. And it's also about a good positive transit to work laboriously to generate income, to accumulate possessions and get money. And it's a time where it could be whether it's general mundane work, or say if the transit Saturn is in Capricorn, it could be general mundane work. It could be doing something with dentistry or accounting or information technology, masonry as some examples. This is the time where you're willing to work harder to make the money, and you find it easier to do so. You might find your work more enjoyable than you ordinarily would. And it's also a time as well where it's easier to value hard labor, working laboriously, your career at this time. A career-related matters may be something that is more of a value, more something that you strongly value at this time, more so than you generally would when this transit occurs. And again, Venus is connected with money, so it is a time where I would say too, this transit can be associated with disciplined spending, doing due diligence, not going overboard or being overly extravagant, with your spending, even if the natal Venus is in a more extravagant sign such as Leo or Sagittarius as some examples. This is the time where you're likely more likely, I should say, to have again more structure, more discipline in the spending habits, and not going overboard. Not trying harder to not go over what a budget you may have set for yourself at this time. And again, it's also a time where you could be very disciplined in the accumulation of possessions, and whether you're accumulating them to maybe sell them later on, at a higher price if it's something that's nostalgic, or if you're like a collector, like say sports memorabilia, it could be items that will eventually, that will escalate in terms of price at a later time, or comic books is another example. It could be that's a positive time to doing that, but doing so in more of a structured discipline matter at this time. And also too, Venus is connected with resources, so it's also this could be a time where the father, older people, authority figures may be beneficial at this time in matters that are pertaining to your resources at this point in time. And if you were in a situation where you felt like resources were diminished or depleted, it's a time where these people can be apt to help you out and be beneficial to those things. And it's also a time where it can be very propitious for peace, peaceful connections with these same people that I just described, connected with Saturn, the father, older people, authority figures. It's a time if you were in some riff, or the situation was contentious with one or more of these people, it's a time too that could be very positive for peace and reconciliation, and being able to basically end the feud if there was a feud that had been ongoing for some time. And it's also could be very positive, especially if you're somebody that's involved in artistic endeavors, or have some affinity for art. If you have an ability for it, this is the time where you may be able, in terms of, really doing something, art related, that's very disciplined, at this time, and doing so very consistently. Saturn is about consistency. It's about structure. Um, it can be, a time as well, when you have this transit. Venus is about lawsuits, legalities. This is the time where you can have more discipline in these matters, whether it's being attentive to these things on a day-to-day basis, whether it's holding back, showing some kind of restraint if the legal opponent is being antagonistic. This could be a very positive time for that. And again, going back to Saturn being connected with the father, older people, and authority figures, these people may be more beneficial in those matters if you are embroiled in some legal situation or lawsuit at this point in time. Now, another way this transit may manifest, it could be about responsibility, which is Saturn, to your relationships. It could be a positive time for that. And let's say, for example, if the transit Saturn is in Aries, it could be doing something with welding or carpentry, or even speech pathology as some examples. It could be standing up for friends, especially if they're somebody, if they're more passive, than the average person as some examples. And also this could be a positive time for the father, which is Saturn, being in harmony and agreement with what you enjoy, which is Venus. Hold on a moment. Sorry about that, I'm back. But anyway, now let's say another thing about this transit as well is that, let's say for well, let me go back to what I stated before. It's a time where the father, which is Saturn, could be in harmony and agreement with what you enjoy, which is Venus. If the natal Venus is in Scorpio, as an example, those things could be psychology, locksmithing, investigation, forensics, as some examples. And it could also be an auspicious time for planned and premeditated, which is Saturn. It could be money-making endeavors, which is Venus. Now, let's say, for example, if the natal Venus is in Leo, those money-making endeavors may include creativity, circus performing, entertaining, acting, as some examples. And it could also be a time where it's propitious for laborious work, which is Saturn, in helping self-worth and self-esteem, which is Venus. If the transit Saturn is in the zodiac sign Cancer, as an example, it could be doing home renovation, remodeling, roofing, real estate, cooking. It could be restaurant work, as some examples. And also, too, this could be a very positive time for concentration, which is Saturn, and it could be in artistic endeavors, which is Venus, or tasks. And now, if let's say if the natal Venus is in Pisces, as an example, it could be abstract art, or even it could be fantasy, type of art. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.